Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. I was recently at BritizenCon 2019, where there were various Star Citizen panels and questions asked to Cloud Imperium devs. This covered UI, mission, props, environments, and more, and was pretty interesting for the future of the game. This will be a summary of that and some follow-up questions that I was able to get answered after that panel. I'll do an event summary and some of the less game-relevant stuff in a stream or a separate video as well. Links to the BritizenCon panels and stream down below, though, for all of that source information. Let's start with UIs or user interfaces. So user interfaces and heads-up display have a huge amount of variety in the ways that they can expose data, brand, technology, and the actual data and info that it shows all needs to be chosen and worked out. So the engine needs to cater for all of that. The UI system takes game code and exposes it sensibly to the player, but they do need to work out what is exposed. This also includes things like physical buttons, touch displays, holograms. These all need to be diegetic as well, so exist for the character to see and not just the player, if you see what I mean. You can't just have a arbitrary health number that you as a player would know, but your character wouldn't. A huge amount of info is physicalized and exposed to the player with Star Citizen, and you're going to be able to see other players interacting with their Mobi glasses and screens, their MFDs, that sort of stuff in the future, and seeing exactly what they're doing if you're close enough, or spying on them. A player's helmet or visor can show a huge range of data. They're still deciding exactly what to allow players access to, but can plug in various pieces as needed and build the UI for it. The system can take info from weapons, items, armor, player states, pretty much anything that's connected to the player. They can take data from any part of a ship or attached item or system to make an MFD, a multifunction display, the panels that you interact with. The UI is very scalable for their future needs. They do want to optimize it as much as possible so it isn't resource heavy on your PC, and a lot of these UIs and MFDs and HUDs are being reworked at the moment to get them into a great state, especially for Squadron 42's release. Transit displays are coming in the future as well. Missions! So Luke Presley, lead Star Citizen live designer, talked about missions and getting them into the live environment. Missions at the moment in 3.5 are very limited by rule sets and mechanics supported by the game. When they make a mission, they will talk to the writers and environment designers to see how they can best use mission givers, lore, and the gameplay area to build out the mission that they had in mind, or lots of different mission parts or whatever. Currently, missions are really sort of like orientated towards fighting, light exploration, and transport archetypes. There's obviously racing too with scramble races. Local inventory will help them be able to develop lots of cool missions and new ideas when we get that in the near future. They decided to add one big mission for Twitch Pacheco on ArcCorp and Area 18 for 3.5, where she gives you a ship to use. That isn't the way they'd necessarily want to lend you a ship in game in the future, though. So in that mission, basically, she just goes, go over here, grab this ship, and you can just jump into a ship. However, only the person that actually owns the mission can get into the front seat of that ship and pilot it. You can have someone else in the rear seat and the turret, admittedly, but at the moment, it's just locking that to the mission owner. The only person that can actually pilot that ship is the only way the game currently supports doing it, really. In the future, you're going to be able to have your friends flying mission ships as well, rather than just the owner. Lots more sort of like availability to do much more interesting things with ships in the way they give them to you, the way they lend them to you, how players interact with them. Luke doesn't feel like they've created a true mission yet. What they currently have is very simplistic compared to what they foresee in the future. A mission should be dynamic, have several objectives, lots more new gameplay. Luke even talks about potentially having players knocked out and kidnapping them, or NPCs knocked out. And that's the sort of like example he was giving to some of the mission modules that you foresee in the future. They don't want to spoon feed players either. They are aware that if players think they know how to do a mission, they probably won't read the description. They've also had to change the descriptions of mission items and bits and bobs in missions previously, like in Twitch Pacheco's mission. They describe originally the mission item that you're looking for as looking like bark, but they changed it to wood chips as players were confused and commonly used wood chips to describe the look of it rather than bark. Not everyone uses bark to describe the sort of like look of that package, basically is what they were saying there. In future though, they want players to figure stuff out themselves. Luke watches a lot of people play through missions that are currently in the game and adapts them based on their feedback. There is sometimes situations where these changes will look like a mission is broken to players that don't realise that there's been a change from the early stages or the PTU. Service beacons are the very early state of player-generated missions. In the future, they could, example, have players delivering items for service beacons as well, so you could literally go, take these items over here so you could get all your deliveries done. This system will continue to be built in a modular fashion and exposed to players as and when they have those new sort of features available. They do want to have animals in game, tracking them, and these are planned for the future as well. And as Luke was talking about it, I assume that's because they want to have them as part of missions. Dynamic missions. Tony Zorovic is currently working on the economy and the dynamic mission system. There are going to be missions based on the needs of the area, so missions are going to be made up of various modular parts. The economy is going to generate them. People completing certain missions will lead on to other ones, and other ones being generated in the area. It's all going to be a lot better. However, I did talk to Luke afterwards, and he answered some more questions in regard to some ideas for modular missions, dynamic mission system stuff, and sort of like points of interest in the future. The dynamic mission system allows for much more appropriately generated content, but they still need to build all of those modular mission pieces out. There's lots and lots of possibilities here. They want to plan for variables and balance to the enemies and their loadouts. And it's quite hard for them to work out exactly how all these things are going to slot together in an appropriate fashion, or exactly what is going to be great for an area. But they're going to build more and more modules, types of mission, and these are sort of like going to come online with each major release. He briefly talked about junkyards and scrapyards, which he had mentioned junkyards in the panel. So scrapyards and junkyards are a potential future location or area in the verse that will be more outlaw-centric, allowing for the sale of stolen ships. These may also be mission areas or general points of interest for bounty hunting and intrigue. And again, that was just more of an idea than this is factual and super planned or whatever. But this is sort of like how the stuff evolves there. Props. Props cover a few things, including dressing areas, standalone items, but it can also be larger items that props handle as well. They will build props and these entities and interesting things to suit locations for missions and to add flavour to environments. The Skimmer Probes, for example, were made by the props team, and that's an example of quite a large prop that's part of a mission now. They look at items and desks and chairs and things and work out how players could interact with them. Some props don't need interaction. They might have implied use or partial use. Eventually, they want to have many more objects that are all pickupable and interactable with to a certain level. Obviously, there are restrictions on the amount of resources and stuff that they have. Sometimes fully functional props wouldn't be appropriate or take far too much time to do or cost too many CPU or GPU resources. They also create assets that add flavour or have implied use, like filing cabinets and set pieces. This adds to the immersion and sort of like world building aspect of the game. If they have a ladder or item that should have use, however, then they want it to have use. There shouldn't be any sort of like non-functional ladders or things that you go, well, I need to be able to make use of this, and they want lots of functional flair and items in the future as well. When they build props and items and desks and furniture or whatever, they try to sort of like have an idea in their head what they want it to look like in the future, because the game's obviously in the future, but it is in their own universe, and they want players to know certain things of vending machines, chairs and toilets. They don't want them to be too alien to us, and they want them to look like we would expect them. They had a random concept of a turtle in Area 18 originally that the prop team just ran with, and now we have turtles there, although they're not particularly interactive. You can just pick them up, look around. One of them has a bubbly eyes. They can have weight to props as well. This would affect your stamina when picking things up. Environments. When fleshing out areas like ArcCorp and Area 18, the environments guys, they need to sort of like make a catalogue and of all the assets and actually make those assets that they're going to use. Some of this might already be made. The props guys might make some bits too, especially when it comes to set dressing. The design guys will give a brief on how they want the area to be used, and then the environments guys will, with system resource budgets in mind, build an area. For example, in Area 18, they have a mixture of low poly assets that are low to the ground and high quality assets that are much more close to where the players will be flying around and exploring. And so I wasn't really talking about Area 18 on the ground, more sort of like Area 18 placed on ArcCorp. They take feedback and suggestions from players across Reddit, Spectrum, and other places as well. Originally, signage in Lorville was very limited. They expanded the area to have very clear signs to help players get around eventually. This evolved through the QA department and the early PTU. A lot of influence was taken from players when they worked out exactly how that signage should work. They want more moving items in environments as well, like flags moving, additional VFX, making the sort of like more static scenes have more movement. The more of these little pieces and effects that they add, the more these areas sort of come to life. There are currently more resource restrictions at the moment than they would like, but obviously this will be changing in the future. Horizon is something that they are very much looking forward to build. It's the amazing cloud city above Crusader, and it should be awesome to have all those floating platforms there. It does look pretty awesome in concept. Some other questions I had answered after the panel about environments as well. The placement of other areas around ArcCorp, so like Area 17 and all that sort of jazz, was done by hand, and mainly because they made sense and looked cool there. They sort of placed them around the planet so that they weren't too close to each other. They looked at the skyline and where players would be moving around and made sure that the areas there looked and felt right. This seems to be a portion of what the environment guys sort of do. When they build large areas, they make sure that it looks great during night and day, and from various ranges, and from various sort of like, if you're on top of a building, does it look cool? If you're in Area 18 looking up at it, does it look cool? And they need to work out if it looks great at night time and daytime, and they've got a little slider that they can change the times with. Obviously, from the development tools side of things, it is really refined. They can paint on districts and areas and edit them, so there is a good deal of thought that goes into the industrial areas of the planet, where they paint bits on, what sort of buildings go in each of these areas, how do they juxtapose the sort of like landscapes and horizons to make it look great. ArcCorp took 2 people around 2 months to build out environmentally, apparently. There are various teams that will all communicate and evolve ideas for environments, props, and missions, all working together and sort of like helping plan bits out as well. And there's lots of plans they have for all of these as the game becomes less limiting. And there is lots of limits for all of those things that we've just discussed to quite a high degree at the moment. And as more systems and server meshing and optimizations and more modules and more assets all come online, they can build out more and more and more. There was some general building a studio information. They have quickly gone from a sort of startup company to a company with 550 employees. They embrace new challenges and face them. They continue to try and expand their workforce, mentor juniors, and make their processes more efficient. Server meshing was also talked about in the panel, but I have already made a video about that information, links below. That was it for sort of like the more official information given at BritizenCon. I will go through the list of questions and interviews that other people did as well, where I find them, try and make a little bit of a summary of all of that at some point, if relevant. There was some other little panels on special effect, JR Fabrication, who make cool little models and things, and we can talk about that in sort of like the more of the general BritizenCon summary about how the event went and everything. I'll get some pictures up there as well for it. Every month we have a giveaway for a Star Citizen ship. For April 2019, we are giving away a Drake Corsair with lifetime insurance. It's the new concept ship focused on exploration, and the loaner for that ship is currently the Constellation Aquila and the Buccaneer. To be in for a chance of winning, be subscribed to my channel and comment on any video that I put out during April. Full details in the description below. Need a PC or upgrade to play Star Citizen? consider Shadow. Shadow is a cloud-based subscription alternative to a gaming PC, and it works with Star Solus now for 3.5 better than it ever has. It leverages the power of the internet to give you a Windows 10 gaming environment potentially anywhere. Check out the links below or go to shadow.tech for more information. Use the code BoredGamer to receive a discount on your subscription if you do decide to try it. I'm not sponsored or paid by Cloud Imperium in any way. This is a Star Citizen news and fan channel that is supported by you, the community. Patrons, donations, subscriber stars, YouTube members, that little join button underneath my videos, all help support the channel and allow me to create regular video content, maintain a website, upload podcasts, and more. If you wish to go that extra mile, it is amazingly helpful. There is occasional exclusive content for those that do as well.